Now let's talk about liars. Over the day, I will make some comments about little white lies, about lies that people tell to spare hurt feeling, about lies that are social lies. But that's not the heart of what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about are important lies that we tell ourselves or about what happened, and that we involve other people in, and where that lie becomes an important part of the relationship with that person, and in the case of important lies, becomes the issue in the relationship. In the moment that a person lies to another, whether that is in the beginning or at some place along the line, and tells an important lie for some reason because they can't bear the consequences out of immaturity or whatever, where they're not willing to face what it says about them, where they're not just simply willing to be real, where they don't trust the other person enough, whatever the reasons are, or they tell a lie because they're over the barrel to somebody else. For example, the mother that lies to a daughter about something about the husband, who's willing to involve the daughter in a lie to somehow protect the daughter from seeing something about the husband because she's involved in a collusion to protect the world from knowing something about her husband, whatever the crunch is. In the moment that a lie is told in a relationship, from that time forward, depending on the extent of the lie and its repercussions, either a part of the relationship, ranging from that all the way to a totality of it, because lies have ways of poisoning everything in time that is involved in a relationship between two persons. From that time forward, the relationship between the two persons stops. Now it goes on in drama and feeling, but in terms of a real interplay between two persons responding instinctively, as we spoke about in our sort of preface to this, interplaying, that process is stopped by the lie for many different reasons, the least of which are the needs that the liar experiences to keep the lie in mind in all future actions, so that he does not or she does not give the lie away. And the rationalizations that go with that. Lies have to be continually reasserted, and the liar, in her or his guilt, has to constantly fabricate rationalizations that make that lie possible, wind up sharing those rationalizations for the lie with the person that's being lied to, which in turn becomes part of the story that must then, down the road, become part of what the other person is bullied into believing or re-expressing faith in. So that the lie grows and the unreality creeps in, because the liar must from that time forward always be self-conscious. And when you are self-conscious, namely when you watch what you say so that the truth doesn't come out, by definition, you cannot be real. You must channel your spontaneous experience of the relationship through what can be known and said. If you watch people who are comfortable with each other, Jung's whole notion of his studies of reaction times drew our first attentions to this kind of phenomena in some kind of clinical psychiatric sense. If you watch people talk, people who feel comfortable with each other say it as they feel it. And liars don't react like that. There is a moment of hesitation. And to the extent that the lie is pervasive, it may sometimes be seconds before a liar responds or makes statement. And what's going on in that is that the gears are grinding and things are going through that. Are you having an affair? Silence. No. So that in that experience, whatever spontaneity of response must be limited, moved, channeled, cut down. And in the beginning, perhaps, if the subject can be changed and one can get into a place that is sufficiently far enough away from the lie that you can let go a little bit, some realness may come out. Again, to translate it into the bad marriage metaphor. And incidentally, this is not really intended, this course is not really addressing itself to people who are lying in a traditional fucked up middle class marriage and protecting one another's feelings, but I'm using that as a kind of example here, but it's not really the kind of destructive example I have in mind. But again, to go back to that kind of relationship that's characterized by lies, sometimes you will find people very unreal around issues and experiences and situations where they might talk, hence the lie is going to come out. In other words, if they're in the bedroom or the kids are asleep or they're driving in a car, it's vigilance time and in the liar's mind, and nothing real can happen. But if you go play tennis or you're skiing or something, and on the tennis court you're not going to yell across and say, "Are you having an affair?" The people may be able to let go and have a good time a little bit and have a little bit of realness over there. And that whole thing, incidentally, can get translated in the progressive lies that people tell themselves as, we really have fun together when we do fun things, or when we're at a party or something. That's because you can't talk there, and you can let go a little bit, and you have a little fun. But you can't when there's a chance that the lie may come out. I mean, that's an example of what that thing is about. But what tends to happen in time is that, especially as the lie grows, and more things are added to it to rationalize it, it tends to creep into every area of the relationship. And there is a fear of letting down at all, or I'll tell. Obviously, another thing that adds to this is that with the length of time that the lie goes on, the more there is at stake in the lie. In a liar's life, when the lie starts, because whole areas of living are then stopped in the face of preserving the lie, like all other kinds of stoppings in living of growth, people who are repressed or withdrew in living or whatever the thing is, whenever you stop life processes, but you go on living, in quotes, you're dead, but you're going on. All the events that happened that you had feelings in or didn't let yourself have feelings in live on in that kind of person. The energy is there. The event that never happened is there. The fuck yous they never said. The loving they never did. The passion they never did. The just plain being they never did. All of that is there in them as frustration. And when it goes on for years, you have this phenomenon of people that are walking volcanoes with all of the unlived life that is looking for a chance to get itself out. And in the case of a liar, the same thing happens. In their contrived, limiting, filtering world, the relationship doesn't go on, they don't go on, and what builds up behind that is an enormous reservoir of feeling, of unexpressed feeling, passion, anger, of resentment at the bind that they're in, that all adds up to this volcanic feeling that must be held in check by the lie, which means that the lie has to grow in its power, and because the energy is growing behind it, the energy seeks places on the tennis court places where it leaks to get a relief so that your life and your soul can break out, which forces you to push your vigilance everywhere, namely to make the lie bigger and to spread it out. And ultimately down the road, to forget the lie and where it started and make the lie reality, which is incidentally largely what our concept of maturity and adulthood is. It is the lies that people live with generation after generation that they are forced to make so pervasive and so powerful to keep down their pain and human spirit that they have to erect them to the level of belief. This is what life is. The lie is now the truth. And then my feeling can be better held down because my feeling is against the truth and reality. And it's going to leak less. And incidentally, that has a lot to do with why then in time we turn against feeling as evil, why we gin feeling, and come to think of our feelings as something ugly and despicable, because the lies are now the good and the truth. And that which seeks to break out is somehow evil and wrong and selfish and indulgent and childish. So that what happens is that we get fucked up in relation to time when we lie. If we began the lie when we were 24 and we're now 34, it means that we really are 24 with all the buildup of that behind it. And we are out of sync in terms of time. The past that we have is the past from 24 back. We have not lived for 10 years, so we are out of touch with now. And there is no concept of future because our life is back 10 years back. So our experience of time in stopping means that a very crazy thing happens, which Sartre beautifully describes in Saint-Genet,